Hey guys. Alright, I'm going to be installing this SAP front fascia onto my GTO bumper. First off, you will have to remove the bumper. This will make it much easier. I don't see how you could do this install with the bumper on the car. But anyways, to remove the bumper, you got a bolt right here, a bolt right here, and a bolt right here. So those 3 screws. And then most of the time you will have 2 screws on each side of the inner fender well. After that, you just pull the bumper towards you, disconnect your wiring harness for your fog lights and side markers, and bumper's off. All right, moving on. For the SAP fascia, I ordered this one from GTO G8 Trans Am. And they have a lot of great products. As you can see, I already put their black SAP grills in. Very simple. You just pop the old ones out. And the old ones have alignment tabs. As you can see, the alignment tabs slide in through the back. Right there in the middle, I ended up breaking mine off. I couldn't get them off without breaking them. But as long as you don't break the actual anchor mount tabs on the 4 corners, when you pull them off, you're good. The SAP style from GTO G8 TA slides in with these 4 bolts. Tighten them up. You do both sides. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Be careful not to over tighten them. Now for the fascia, I've had people asking me how to line up and anchor the lower fascia. Well, the GTO G8 TA fascia comes with these anchors already molded into the front fascia. They do not provide the hardware. The hardware is 1/4 20, thread and pitch depth, and you use 3/4 inch long. I use stainless steel. This will be subjected to weather. You don't want it rusting out on you. And they also recommend there is a flat edge that goes all the way around the bumper here, or the fascia, to use double-sided tape when you mount it back. So after you get it painted however to your liking, or if you just leave it back, of course I use the 3M double-sided tape. This is apparently twice as strong as Gorilla Glue tape, so that's the one I'm using. I'll probably cut it in half and run it all the way across the outside of the bumper when I go to finally mount it after paint. Also, how I lined up my fascia, I'm about to drill my holes for it. I put the fascia onto the bumper itself. And watch, let me set this down and I'll show you real quick. Alright, so the fascia easily just slides over the bumper. After you put it onto the front, make sure and stick these tabs back around the back side. I To mount this on the back side for a little extra strength, you got a little lip right here on the factory bumper where the fascia slides over it. I've got a little mark over here already. I don't know if I can see that, but I'm going to drill it on each side. After I make sure this is tight right here on this corner, I'm going to drill through both sides and use some large Christmas tree tabs to punch through both of them to kind of hold it on the outside edges. Now the tricky part for lining up the front, drilling your holes into the factory bumper to meet up with your fascia. As you can see, I have taped on the very outside edge where my holes are at. I marked directly on top of them with a permanent marker. You can see right here, and I got a little mark right here, another little mark on the top of the bumper right here. That lines up where my holes are going to be, directly in the center. And the tape I lined up with the very top edge of the SAP fascia itself. So I've got a point where I can measure from down to the anchor holes onto the fascia. Now I've already measured mine. You know, the way they anchor these holes, use the anchors at in the fascia, they're going to be a little different, I imagine, for each and every one. So this is just an easy little process. This is just an easy little process to line it up and give you a starting point of where you're going to want to drill your holes. And anyways, make sure you get some washers. I think these 1-inch washers might be a little too big, because you're going to be drilling, let's see, right next to this curve on the factory bumper. I don't know if the 1-inch washers will fit right up next to it correctly, so you might not want to go that big. But anyways, let me pull it off and I'll show you how I measured it, you know, to give everybody a good good little bit of information to help them trying to line up these, you know, mounting holes. Give me a second. All right, so you see where I have the tape on the bumper. I'm just going to measure from the very bottom of the tape itself, and this is the hole that lines up next to it. I've got it at 9/16 of an inch. Let's see, about 9/16 of an inch from the outside of this edge to the center of the mount hole. So since I taped this accordingly on the outside of the edge of the fascia, I'm just going to use that 9/16 of an inch and drill directly below it for my hole. So that's what I did with each one. And it should line up. You can always, since you're using washers and it's going to be hidden, even if you don't get your holes exactly correct, you can always wallow the holes out just a little bit extra. That way when you go to put the bolts in it, you know, it should clamp it tight, and should, you know, you should have a, you know, a lot of little room for little improvements if you need to make any. All right, guys, I hope this helped, you know, anybody that was wanting to install one of these. And I'm actually impressed with the quality. I will buy from GTO GATA again. Thank you very much, and I'll have videos to come with it mounted. All right, guys, I drilled my holes. Now they're going to be off a little bit because the fascia flexes a little So always start with a small drill bit and work your way up. You are using washers, so you're gonna have you are gonna have a good bit of leeway on where you drill, even if you mess it up. As long as you're not very far off, you know, it will be okay. That one's lined up. So next thing I'm gonna do is just gonna mount them in there with the washers after I pull it tight. And then I still have to drill my holes right here on the end. See where I got it marked. After I push this in, drill those holes through there. That way, and put those Christmas trees in there. Those push tabs. That way it keeps the outside edges from wanting to separate out like this. I'll drill my hole and put my tab in there, and then it'll be mounted. So, alright, I'll get everything mounted and take another video. Alright guys, I wanted to show you the finished product. Got the fascia mounted, cleaned up. I'm not going to paint it just yet, but just wanted to show you. There's a little tabs that I drilled, the holes that I drilled, and the tabs that I put in right there. Also added a little bitty bolt and washer on each end just to help take some strain off these tabs on the end. But you see, got it mounted. And of course I had a couple holes that weren't lined up perfectly. That's why I say start with a small drill bit and work your way up. You can use a good size washer to cover any larger holes and suck it up. That way it gets a good tight hold and grip on it. But just wanted to show you before I put it back on the car. All right.